banned all of this other stuff. Like
Yeah.
they've banned, weed. Just for the really easy example, they've banned weed federally. So for years, you couldn't use weed to treat your pain or to treat whatever. And instead, you're like, okay, well, yeah, for your painkillers, take this Vicodin or take this Percocet or take this OxyContin or oxycodone or
Yep.
whatever.
Yep.
Morphine if you're real lucky, and bringing back memories.
Dilaudid.
Dilaudid.
We're both recovering drug addicts that are reminiscing for a moment.
Yeah. Like immediately,
Just having
I'm
a
like,
moment.
whoo, breaking out in a little bit of mild sweat. Is it warm in here? Anyway,
Like remembering an old love.
right.
Wonder what she's up to.
I wonder what she's doing now.
I never do that because I never had a love before my wife.
Right.
I can imagine that's what it would be like. Actually, I did it with drugs.
Yeah.
So
But
I wonder how drugs are doing.
I wonder how
I
drugs
wonder
are.
if drugs still has the same number they did before.
Oddly enough, they do.
1-800-drugs.
But one of the reasons that this show was founded, is because we believed in the basic right to try kind of thing, and being able to believe in kava kratom. And
Yep.
real quick thing on kratom for anybody who does not know what kratom is. Kratom comes from the leaf of the kratom tree and can be found in Southeast Asia. The leaf is ground up and made into a tea. It's usually pulverized into powder and then made into a tea, or anyway, none of that really matters. But it's got some really great effects. And some will wake you up, some will kind of mellow you out, and others will have sort of I'm not a doctor, so I can't legally say it, but technically I don't work for a kratom company anymore, so pain relieving effects.
Right.
The FDA has been fighting kratom from coming into the States. They want to ban it federally. And they actually did for a little while, and I was right there on the front lines fighting against that, and the DEA did ban it, made it Schedule 1 for like 30 days, and then they overturned it, first time ever, that the DEA...
First time ever, right? Yep.
That the DEA overturned. And they all did it based on the advice of Scott Gottlieb, who is the FDA chair. And he's continually fighting, and he says nothing. And he's like, no, kratom's bad for you. It's awful for you. You should not take it. It should be banned. But he doesn't say anywhere that he used to sit on the board of the company that has the patent for synthetic kratom. Says nothing about that. Leaves all of that out while he's saying we need to ban kratom. But as of today, it was announced he is resigning next month.
Nice.
And hopefully whoever comes in next will stop pushing synthetic opiate. What's the Suboxone? Stuff like Suboxone or
Narcan and stuff like that.
Well, Narcan's different. Narcan's the one that brings you back to life when you're overdosing. Narcan's the one that jam into you and they.
I thought Narcan was one of the.
No, it's like Suboxone or the other clinics that I can't think of right now. Like, stop pushing
methadone.
Methadone, thank you. Stop pushing methadone and stop pushing Suboxone and stuff like that, and push these natural things that can help people out. Push push the natural ones. Push kratom to people. Like, personally, I don't like it. It makes my stomach turn, but it helps so many people.
It's helping people, right?
Yeah,
right.
It helps so many people. So, Scott Gottlieb, I'm not going to say it on the air because we've been really getting better about not cursing on the air, but I'll give you one of these. And I can't wait to see you gone, man, because you. I'm so happy you're leaving.
Wasn't he also the guy that was like trying to spread this panic about teens vaping?
Yes.
And he was like, we need to have all this stuff like vaping, which, I mean, there is some nicotine in it, but that's true of a bunch of stuff that kids can get.
Right.
Like, or, you fill them full of sugar. It's the same effect. And he's like, kids could be vaping. And he wanted to like do all these really tough restrictions that would restrict and tax vaping the same way that they restrict and tax cigarettes and tobacco products, which sort of eliminates the point. If you're a kid that's illegally smoking cigarettes and you're trying to get off of it, but you can't vape, so you're gonna keep smoking cigarettes. Like it was just a stupid thing. So yeah, no, I'm glad he's gone, or he's gonna be gone.
He's gonna be gone.
The thing with the opioid crisis, there's many contributing factors. Almost all of them are related to government. So first of all, the U.S. military is currently protecting and underwriting the production of poppy fields, growing of poppies in Afghanistan, which is where most opium, which comes from poppy seeds, which is used to be synthesized into all these different things. That's the U.S. military protecting it. And then you have the DEA protecting drug cartels in Central and South America that bring it into the U.S. So that's an issue right there. They're helping. Your tax dollars are being used to bring down the price of narcotics. The other thing that happens is, okay, so they aren't allowing these, they're either not allowing or they're putting pressure on these natural ways that you can get off of opiates and relieve and alleviate pain. So they get you on these synthetics, but then what they do is right around the time that you're hooked and absolutely need the synthetics, now they put you on these lists where you can't get them anymore. So they've got you hooked. You're taking it. You get to the point where you're now an addict, and they go, oh, you know what? You're taking too much of this. We're not going to let you take it anymore. Well, now what? Now you start using heroin.
Well, first legitimately, you first start looking for your painkillers on the black market.
Yes, that's true. You're often looking.
Yeah, you're like, hey, I need Vicodin, or I need, whatever, Percocets or whatever. And they're like, okay. And they start finding you that on the black market. And I'm not going to say that I know this from experience, but those are like 10 to $20 a pop on the black market. So, and that's because they know people will pay it. Because it's absolutely necessary. If you go with like Oxycontin, you're looking at like $50 a pop, and it's expensive. And heroin is not.
Heroin is super cheap. Heroin used to be expensive, but with the advent of black tar heroin, which is sort of like the crack of heroin. So cocaine used to be super expensive. And the reason the crack epidemic happened was because by freebasing it, you could produce way more crack out of the same amount of cocaine, which made crack cheap. So now it was accessible. So now people could overdose and die and everything else.
Right.
We're now seeing the same thing with heroin that started a few years ago, but it's just been ramping up over time. And it's you get someone hooked to something, you don't allow them to have natural and less lethal and less addicting alternatives. So you put them on this eventually lethal and addicting option. And then you say, okay, you've had too much, you can't have it anymore. So now they're having to get it illegally, which costs way more. Or you say, I can get black tar heroin for
pennies,
almost pennies. Like it's like a few bucks.
Right.
So now you can support, and now you're a drug addict, like an actual street drug addict. So you're
at that
more
point
than likely
you're a straight junkie at that point.
Yeah, you're a junkie at that point, but you can afford to be a junkie because it only costs you a few bucks to get a fix. So you can, it's not going to be easy, but you can. And in Myrtle Beach, they're everywhere. It seems like in the last couple of years, the last year or so, it's gotten a little bit better. But I don't think it's because they're not junkies anymore. I think it's because they have facilities for them now. But they end up at the hospital. They're running. They're a huge strain on the hospital infrastructure because they have to use Narcan. I forgot the Narcan. I didn't realize Narcan. I knew there was a thing they to get them out of the overdose with, but I didn't realize it was Narcan.
Yeah.
But they have to do all that, and they have to hospitalize them afterwards and bring them back to health because they're still human beings that that they want to keep alive. And then they let them out and go, now don't do that again. And that's the opioid crisis. And it's almost entirely it's almost entirely a machination of government. It wouldn't be happening without government involvement. In a free market, you wouldn't see this level of addiction to a specific type of drug because they'd have other options.
Right. It's like,
write your congressman.
Right. It's like,